Center, single back is Gibbs. Goff turn, gives it to Jameer, to the end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions. That's the way you make a statement on the road on Monday night to start a football game, straight down the field to the end zone. It is 2nd and goal from the 1. Goff out of the gun.
Hey, it's working.
Hands it to Montgomery, tries the left side, did not get in. It's going to be 3rd and goal from inside the 1. There, they say he did get in. Late call. There it is. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Better late than never. Out of the gun. Jackson's got it. Running to his right. Wants to throw. Now being pressured. Ball's loose on the ground. It is recovered by Jackson, but it does not matter. That's Lions football. A 4th down stop by this team. Jackson tried to roll out, had a run-pass option, and Jack Campbell was there to knock that ball loose. That is a big-time stop by that defense. Lions show 4 across the front. There's the snap. Jackson back, looking right. Pressure comes. Jackson still looking. Stepping up. Gonna get hit. Gonna go down. Al-Quadin Mohammed got him. Goff out of the gun. Montgomery to his right. Jared's got it back and looking, throwing right side. Wants Amon-Ra. End zone. Got it. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. What a delivery that time by Goff, where only Amon-Ra with those late hands could pull it in. And the Lions are an extra point away from drawing even once again here in Baltimore. Jackson fakes the give to Henry, wants to throw, steps up, gonna get hit, gonna get spun down again. That's another sack by that Lions defense. That is Al-Quadin Mohammed for the 2nd time tonight. 96, that is big, man. Goff up under center, turns, gives, Amon-Ra flips it out to Gibbs. He's in the house, baby. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Oh, that is beautiful. Goff hands it to Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra flips it to Gibbs, and the Lions have got the lead back. From the Lion 19, Jackson out of the gun. He's got it, wants to throw. Jackson looking, stepping up. Now he's going to get hit, going to go down. Sack back outside the 20-yard line. That football came out, but they're going to say he was down. That is another big play by that Lions defense. Trevor Nowaski with the sack. There's the snap, Jackson back. Jackson looking, Jackson stepping up, rolling to his right, being chased. Still looking. Now he's going to get hit, going down. Taken down.
Right. Shout out to you, TA, man. Glad to hear that TA will be back this season. At least that's what was announced yesterday. No need to dig into all that again today, but the Detroit Lions are looking for a corner, and they struck out yesterday, just like the Detroit Tigers did, 8-4. I know it still burns, right? We're gonna get into a few things today. We're gonna go through Dan Campbell on 97.1 The Ticket. We're gonna listen to what his conversation was with Costa and Jansen. The rest of your playbook today, we're gonna do some power rankings where the Detroit Lions, man, they're climbing. They belong there. And if you happen to catch last night, I was with Chiefs Kingdom on their podcast last night, and look, 1 out of 2 of them picked the Lions to win. They're saying that we are the best team in the league, and this is coming from the Chiefs. You know, some pretty down to earth fellas I was with last night, and they had a lot of good things to say about the Lions. They respect the hell out of the Lions, and you know, they brought up a couple of things that I guess I was oblivious to, and we'll talk about that a little bit today as well. Let's get this rolling, man. Here we roll. Here we go. It's Wednesday. Good morning.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
All right. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning.
All right. I think my audio is a little hot. It was yesterday too. Yeah, my major changes with OBS and YouTube. I think I got it all figured out. I think we're live. I think it's working. But
it's working on my end.
I don't know if I like the new look or not, but I think I'll get used to it. I'm going to have to. So, yesterday was an interesting day. I guess let's talk about what happened with the cornerback room. Lions were looking for a corner, apparently. And what did I say, man? I said they're not going to go out and spend big money. You know, they're not going to go out and waste 15, 20 million on a corner. They're not going to waste, big time draft capital. Nope. They went and tried to sign a guy off of a practice squad. Eric, can you tell us what happened with that?
Yeah, so this guy was with the Saints. He's a 76 game starting cornerback. So it is Michael Davis. And the Lions wanted to sign him off of the practice squad of the Saints. And the Saints swooped in and signed him to their 53-man roster. So that kind of put the nix on the Detroit Lions, taking him away from the Saints. And NFL.com insider Mike Garafolo reported that the Lions had plans to sign the veteran quarterback Michael Davis, trying to lure him away from another NFC team, but ultimately failed. Michael Davis is signing to the Saints' active roster, Garofalo wrote on a post on X. He agreed to sign with the team's practice squad, and then the Lions called to sign him. So up to the active roster, the veteran corner goes in New Orleans. And that just means the Detroit Lions lost out on a corner they were trying to get to their practice squad.
Well, obviously there was no room on our roster right now. The Lions are pretty rock steady with who they're going to roll with this weekend. I think I have yet to hear on Rockhound. Honestly, I didn't look yesterday. I didn't make any calls or send any messages or do anything, honestly. So I failed. But assuming he's healthy, he was playing fine. So I think the Lions are good. The benefit that we have, in the discussion that I had last night with the Chiefs guys is, they have Xavier Worthy back. This will be his second game. He was non-existent in that first game. I think he was targeted maybe 8 times. I can't remember now. And only caught one pass for 37 yards. But that's the problem, is the 37 yards, right? One pass. That's the issue that we have to be able to stop. The Lions do have a lot of edge, in this game. My early work so far into the keys to the game, I'm liking where the Lions are shaping up. Honestly, it's kind of rinse and repeat game for me with what the Lions should be able to do in this game. However, we don't have DJ Reed. We don't have Terry and Arnold. So when you want to do the contained game against Mahomes, you really depend on your outside corners to help you. And we don't have that, right? We have Amik, and I think Amik will be fine. We have to figure out a way to stop Worthy. And I think if we can stop Worthy, even though Kelsey has been somewhat solid, I'm not as worried about Kelsey. I think the Lions are doing a good job against tight ends. They're doing a good job against tight ends so far. We had one tight end that beat us, and that was the Ravens. And I expect that. And so I would expect that Kelsey would probably do the same thing. But we need some sort of corner help for the long term, because TA's down for at least 4 weeks, right? Is what they were saying. End of October. And DJ Reed won't be back until minimum week 9, I think is the guess there. However, it sounds like, this is just a rumor, Ali McNeil's going to be back this weekend. So if he's back, look, I'm not expecting him to jump out the gates and swing for the fences and just be an absolute game wrecker. I mean, he's going to be a ball of energy. He's probably going to be the most active guy in that line. I just don't think he's going to get a lot of snaps if, in fact, he does play. So it's just rumor right now. There's nothing concrete. I would love to see him get 10, 12, 15 snaps. But we know how this rolls, man. Anytime you come back from a major injury, it's a couple of games at least before they feel comfortable. I mean, look at Hutch. He's finally starting to look like he feels a little bit comfortable. Anyway, cornerback search is on and going. I really don't have any better options out there without spending draft cap or big money. I don't think that, guys like Stephon Gilmore or, I don't think those make any sense. Kendall Fuller, he's going to want too much money.
The name I heard last night from a couple of writers was Trey Henderson, I think his name is, from the Giants. And he's coming off of injury and in the last year of a contract with the Giants. So that was the one name that kept popping up last night was Trey Henderson or Trey something from the Giants.
Yeah, that name's not ringing a bell. The only Trey Hendrickson I know is
Henderson.
Henderson.
Yeah.
Trayvon Henderson? No, he's a running back.
No, Trey. Let me see if I can find it.
And he's coming back from injury. If this is a guy that I think I might have heard about then, was it a hamstring? Or that might have been a different dude. There was someone that they were looking at that was coming off of injury, and I could have sworn it was a hamstring. That stuff freaks me out. Like, why? I understand they'll have to come in and do a physical and all that, but you're really not going to know what these guys have until they get out there. Taking a look at their depth chart right now, and I don't see any Hendersons. Unless he's on the practice squad.
That might have been it.
Does anybody know in the chat? Rasul Douglas. Yeah, I without looking, John, I wouldn't. Trey Hawkins. There we go. Thanks, Nick.
That's it. Okay.
I
knew it started with an H.
Okay, that one I did look into. So that one does make sense. But the whole thing about Rasul Douglas, man, is how much do you want to pay? Right? How much draft cap do you want to give up? What is he really worth? Obviously, the Dolphins are crap. It's probably a fire sale, and I think that Mike, what's his last name, McDaniels? He's gone. He's done. His overall contract is cheap. His contract's really cheap. But what are they going to want for him? He was drafted in 2017, round 3. He's been with the Dolphins now for just this season?
Yeah, because he was with the Bills before and then the Packers before that.
Yeah, he was with the Packers from 22 to 24. And he was making $8 million a year or $7 million a year. So he's on a 1-year prove-it deal, and I don't know why. He was on a 1-year prove-it deal in 21 too, for a league minimum. I mean, I don't know why they would trade him. Like, wouldn't they just rather release the guy? What is he really worth? That's the biggest question. What is he really worth? That name just doesn't fly for me. I don't know who's talking about it, but it just doesn't fly. I mean, when we look at, obviously every team out there, and the teams that are, 1-4 or, no wins or what, those are the teams that are likely to move on from some guys. But Rasul Douglas at 31 years old, I don't know. I don't know if that one makes sense or not. I'd have to dig into that one a little bit further, but I definitely wouldn't trade for him. That's just me. If you did trade, I would give the furthest 7th round pick possible. Like 2027. You know what I mean?
Give up a 6th and get a 7th in return.
Something. Give up a 7th.
Like
give up a 7th to get a 6th in return. Right?
Yeah.
Here, we'll take your player and we want a better pick back. I don't know.
And speaking of a trade where you get something back in return, the Cincinnati Bengals have traded for Cleveland Browns quarterback Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
So the trades got underway yesterday. The Browns will send a 2026 6th round draft pick to the Bengals and receive a 2026 5th round in return. The Browns confirmed the trade on Tuesday. So this gives Joe Flacco the opportunity to beat the Green Bay Packers with 2 different AFC teams in the same season.
Well, I think this kind of ship shapes the Browns into, hey, we gave it a shot with Flacco, which I don't know what they were thinking outside of having a veteran leader in the room to help coach up these guys. I don't know why they'd be trading him. Obviously, the Bengals are not happy with what they have in, what's his name? My God, what's the Bengals quarterback's name?
Browning.
There we go. Obviously, they're not happy, but I mean, do the Bengals honestly feel like they're going to win this year? No. So why are you bringing in Flacco? Unless there's an injury to Browning or maybe they need some more depth, but that just doesn't make any sense to me either.
Well, I think they're pretty unhappy with Browning. If you looked at Browning's face that entire game during the Lions, he just had a scowl on his face. He looked pissed off, like he was mad at everyone else. And we don't know what the guy's like in the locker room. Maybe he's blaming all the receivers for not getting open. Maybe he's blaming the offensive line for not blocking for him instead of standing up and taking accountability for throwing 3 picks in the first half. So maybe it's that kind of a situation, and Zach Taylor's had enough and brought in another quarterback to get them through the season.
So, that dude couldn't hit a broadside of a barn, man.
Yeah.
Even if it was 5 yards away. He had some wide open shots that he missed. Hold on one sec here. Actually, just go into your next topic there.
All right. Well, since we're talking about trades, let's talk about the New York Jets. The New York Jets appear ready to be big sellers at the 2025 NFL trade deadline. An anonymous NFL executive told insider Ralph Vacciano of Fox Sports that the Jets, quote, are loaded with too many of ex-general manager Joe Douglas's players. New general manager Darren Maguri and coach Aaron Glenn are going to want to purge that organization and rebuild it with their own guys. They look like a mess right now, so I think they'll be open to trading almost anybody, end quote. The 2025 NFL trade deadline is Tuesday, November 4th at 4 p.m. So it's coming up in just a couple of weeks. Now, this article goes on to talk about a few of the people that might be available via trade. And the first one they talk about is running back Breece Hall. He's in his 7th NFL season, he is 7th in the NFL in rushing this season with 351 yards. He's averaging 5.3 yards a carry, and he is on the last year of his contract. So they do not have his rights for next year, and they might be able to get something for a very high quality running back at the trade deadline.
Who is this?
And then that's for Breece Hall.
Mm.
And then they also go on to say linebacker Quincy Williams may be available via trade. Since the Jets already paid Jamie and Sherwood, they would also have to pay Williams. So considering that and the fact that he's 29 and will be 30 before the start of the 2026 season, he may also be on the trade block. And then defensive tackle Quinnen Williams. He's the big kahuna.
Mm-hmm.
He could command the biggest return of any player on the Jets roster that could realistically be moved. We're not going to talk about Sauce Gardner because he's not going anywhere.
Williams isn't coming to Detroit, just so everybody understands that. Like we're good.
He may hit the market, and so that's 3 players right there from the Jets. The Jets may be sellers. They may move on from 1 or 2 of these guys.
I would almost expect it, but in your first season, let's be real. Aaron Glenn took over a roster that was a nightmare. Not only cap-wise, money-wise, they had some big problems to start with Aaron Rodgers, and he has to start rebuilding. And so when I look at what Aaron Glenn's doing, I know there's a lot of people talking a lot of trash. You see, Aaron Glenn wasn't a good coach, man. He can't even get a win in New York. Yeah, not a lot of coaches have got wins in New York, but the Lions were 3-13-1 their first season. And didn't we didn't we like have no wins for like 10 weeks or something like that?
Oh yeah, it was 11 weeks before.
Yeah, it was crazy.
We got a tie after the 11th week, and then we finally got a win against the Vikings when Amon-Ra got that touchdown super late. But, you know, you look at what Dan Campbell had to do. He had to purge this roster.
Well, he had to start. He had to start from nothing and continue to purge year after year after year. You know,
we had to get rid of Trey Flowers and that stupid $90 million contract. We had to get rid of who was the linebacker that we got from the Patriots that cost us a bunch of money?
Collins.
Yeah, Collins. You know, we had to get rid of all these guys. And we had so many cancers on this team that were just here for a paycheck because they were bought. They weren't brought up through the system. They weren't drafted here. So I can honestly see where he is having to follow the same type of arc that Dan Campbell had to follow. And you got to remember, our second year with Dan Campbell, he started off 1-6.
Mm-hmm.
The owner, Sheila Ford Hamp, she had to come out and say, I have full confidence in these guys that they're going to turn it around. And from that day forward, they turned it around. And they've been the best team in the NFL ever since she came out and said that. Wins wise.
You know, I know what you're saying. And honestly, like Sheila didn't have to come out and say anything. She did because it was settling the fire that was being lit under Dan Campbell and the Lions' new regime already. But yeah, thinking about that, I mean, just thinking about going back, we talked about that briefly last night with the Chiefs guys, you know, because they kept on saying that, you know, we're kind of one of the same, like the Chiefs franchise. And I didn't realize this, you know, going back looking through the past Redskins, you know, era, and I'm sorry, not the Redskins era, the Chiefs era. They didn't have any playoff, you know, opportunities. There's like two between 92 and 2010. Yeah. I think were the numbers that I found. So they had two playoff opportunities in that time. Very similar to the Detroit Lions. And then, you know, Andy Reid comes in 2013, I think it was, and they started to turn things around. Same thing happening for the Lions. And they actually said that last night, that they felt this is going to be a similar style of a change for the Lions. And the only way that you do that is if you stay with the process, right? And building through the draft, making sure that you sustain that success by not overspending on players. We had that discussion briefly last night, or I mentioned, you know, if you go out and buy an edge rusher and spend all that kind of money and you're screwed, because if you don't win, I made the analogy with the Packers. I said, you know, look at what they did last night, or look what they did this year. They actually thought that they were good enough to win it all, and they went out and get Parsons. Like, that is an immediate knee-jerk move to go out and overpay for a player, number one. Huge risk with injury, number two. But I think that this was a job-saving move, that now that they're going to be able to blame somebody, I don't think that the Packers are anywhere close to winning it all. And they were never one player away. They haven't done anything with that offensive line that is of note. They still have problems in the receiver room. But they went and paid $47 million for an edge defender. Like, what was the point? To make your defense better? Okay, if you can't score points, and if you can't protect your quarterback, and if you can't get the ball downfield, it doesn't matter. It does not matter what you do. If you don't spend the money in the trenches first, it doesn't matter what you do on the outside. We've seen that for decades in Detroit, that we would go out and get the shiniest toys on the outside. We'd always have one or two, you know, highly drafted receivers or quarterback or running back, and it never worked. So I made the assimilation there that what the Lions could have done is they could have met the fan base in the middle and said, okay, we'll get you another edge. But now what? Now you're going to lose these players. Now you're going to probably lose Jack Campbell that they're going to pay a bag to. Now you're probably going to lose, you know, guys like JMO or Branch, or we've had this conversation a million times. And they agreed. You can't do that. And I was also throwing Ryan Poles under the bus a little bit too, because I said, I don't even know how he has a job. in Chicago. And I don't know why Ben Johnson would even take that job, not being able to start with his own GM to build a relationship with. And I know it kind of works in reverse order, but that probably would have been the smartest move for Chicago to start fresh, and they didn't. I think that Chicago has a better opportunity right now than what the Packers do. I just think it's going to take some time. But back to the whole point is the Jets starting, what are they, 0-5 now? 0-4?
0-5.
0-5. So I'm less worried about what Aaron Glenn is going to be able to do with that team than what I would be more worried about Ben Johnson and what he's not able to do with that team, because I think it's just a room full of misfits. Aaron Glenn's going to do it right. And Aaron Glenn has a good opportunity because he's starting with some cash. You know, he still has about $12 million this year. And next year, he has 36 guys signed in $74 million. So that number will balloon up to $100 million by the time the new league year rolls around. And he only has to sign, 17 guys? I mean, it's kind of a lot, but you'll get, 6 or 7 from the draft, maybe more. And so then you have 10 more guys to sign. They got plenty of money. Plenty of money. And so when I look at this, I don't see Quinnen Williams moving on unless he's in the last year of his deal. I don't know that he is. I don't see him moving on right now. If anything, that I think that the Jets might end up being buyers this year. I think they might end up being buyers by the trade deadline so that he can find a couple of free agents ahead of the curve. Get some snaps with him this year and be able to re-sign him next year. But I would say that the Jets, even though that they're 0-5 right now, I think that they're going to be better off next season than what the Bears are going to be, and they're going to turn it around. Once they start winning, they'll start winning. It's fun to watch both sides. It's fun to watch Ben and Aaron Glenn kind of do their thing, and it's very similar to what Dan Campbell had to deal with, right? It's also very different because we didn't have any money. Like, we were negative. The first 2 years, we had no money, none. And to have to purge that roster the way that we did and get to where we are, going back to the other topic, like the Chiefs guy said, once the Lions win that one, we might stay here. We might stay right where we are for the next decade because of how they've built this roster. So I'm less concerned about, going back to the first topic, the cornerback and finding a guy that's going to cost you a boatload of money right now. Find another one in the draft next year. I'm sure that they will. They're going to have to. They're going to have to get another corner next year because it's going to be Ennis Rakestraw's and Terrion Arnold's third season, and you still don't know what you have in Ennis Rakestraw. So they're going to have to do something next season. And DJ Reed will be around, but, they have to keep building upon the success what they've already built. Let's move into Dan Campbell, unless you had anything else you want to add to that.
No, but you, speaking of Ennis Rakestraw, man, what an unfortunate break for this kid. We've had him for 2 seasons, and we haven't seen him on the field. Yeah, we're going to have to do something about cornerback. I don't know if Ennis is ever going to be able to hit the field for the Detroit Lions, and I think that was the hope, that him and Terrion would be the 1-2 punch for this defensive backfield for years to come. I thought we were going to get 3-4 years of both of them starting, and I just don't think we're going to get that now.
Well, I think that the clear move is you have to sign Amik. You have to extend him. Mm-hmm. And I think now's the time. I would hate for them to, I'm not trying to be a pessimist, but I would hate for Amik Robb and want him to have a great season, but I would hate for him to have a super great season and then next year we can't afford him. You know what I mean? Like, he's everything that Detroit is all about. He is perfect for this team. And they found a diamond in the rough in Amik. They can play all 3, or even 4 positions if he needed to, but he can play all 3 positions, no problem. And he plays at such a high level, and he puts so much weight on his own shoulders that it's never good enough for him. And I love that scrappiness that he has. Each and every week, he wants to show up and be the best guy in the field. Even though he had an interception, it wasn't good enough for him because then he let up a big touchdown. Right? It's never going to be good enough for him. He wants to play perfect. And those are the guys that we need in Detroit. Please, Brad Holmes, Lions fans, put out a petition. I don't know. Amik Robertson needs a new deal. He needs a new deal. He needs to be locked up with DJ Reed for the next, 2-3 seasons so that we have continuity in that backfield. And then that would take, I think, a little bit more pressure off of Terry and Arnold. I think he's going to be fine, but that also takes pressure off of Brian Branch and not having to move Branch back down to nickel. You'll always have Amik around. It is so tough to find a really good nickel corner. It is a really hard position to play. And the fact that he can do it at the level that he does, why would you want to make any other move? You can still go out and find someone in the draft, right? But then again, that gives them less pressure to have to perform right now today, because apparently in Detroit, our fan base, all we know is now immediate gratification. Like we have no patience, apparently. We came from the gutter and now we are the most, I don't know, it seems like we are just so...
we're spoiled.
Yeah, but maybe spoiled's not the right word, though. I'm thinking that we're a little bit, I don't know, crybabies, if you will. Like maybe that's the wrong term too, but it just seems like we expect so much.
Mm-hmm.
But why do we expect so much? Because we got the taste of a winning season or two? Like, that's nothing compared to the long tenured history of the NFL. We're a blip right now. A blip. And we have an amazing team. But we shouldn't want all this immediate gratification. I get it. We've been waiting forever. But you got to let them build the team. We are at the pinnacle, though, of this roster where we're kind of at the tipping point of you're getting a lot of guys starting to enter their prime or just on the outside, but they're playing at a prime rate. Like Jack Campbell, I almost said it again. It's 10 push-ups today. So Jack, I'm sore. So Jack is, he's playing at such a high level, right? Like, you didn't expect it to come this quick, and I can't even tell you how many people said that Jack was a wasted pick. Just like Sam Laporta was a wasted pick. Just like Jahmyr Gibbs was a wasted pick. Too early. Too early. No. Perfect pick. Why? Here's the reason for Jack. Again, we are way off base. Yeah. Jack is a first-round draft pick, so you get that extra cushion. Not to say that the Lions are going to string him out, right? I don't think that they're going to do that. I think that they're going to give him a new deal after this year. But if you needed to, you can take him into year 4 without a new deal, and you could play the game if you had to. It was a smart move to take him in the first round because if what they were expecting is what they're getting out of Jack today. One of the best linebackers in the league. And he's going to command a big bag. What did Jamie and Sherwood get? 15 mil? I think that's what he got. Now, is he going to get paid is he going to get paid? I don't know who's calling right now, but I don't have the phone lines open. He's getting paid 15 mil. He's not going to get paid like Parsons or something like that. But whatever the top middle linebacker salary is, you can expect that's probably what it's going to be for him. So that's why I'm excited where they took him, because they have time. If they need the time, they have the time. So it was a good move. What are your thoughts on Jack so far?
I think he is playing out of his mind. And the Lions definitely saw something last year, because this year they gave him the green dot. And now they're letting Anzalone play more of his normal position where he's floating all over the place. And I think Anzalone is better in coverage against a tight end or a wide receiver, where Jack Campbell is better putting his hand in the dirt and getting up the middle or wherever he has to go. And the fact that they saw something and they knew, you're hearing all over the place that the Detroit Lions have one of the best linebacking cores in the NFL. And if you just go back a season or two, when we were doing our preview of the season, well, what's our biggest worry on the season? It was linebackers. I remember you guys talking about how you thought we had, some real weak links as far as linebackers go. And now I think it's one of the strengths of the team.
Oh, by
and
far.
We have an amazing linebacker crew.
By far, it's a strength. It's
Yep.
It's one of the best units on the field. It's also one of the best units in the league. They're not getting their due. They're not getting this giant light cast upon them by the rest of the NFL. But if you're not thinking about Jack, you're making a big mistake. And Alex Anzalone's playing well too, and he always has. But see, Alex can be Alex now. He doesn't have to worry about leading the squad, right? And where he started, and that's why I think that it was so disappointing for Alex not to get a deal, early in this offseason, was because he came to this team that was decimated, and he was utilized and counted upon to help build it. And not just build the team, but be a leader, a guy that knew the defense that Aaron Glenn was going to run, right? Knew the style of the defense that Aaron Glenn wanted to put together, and help promote that and get guys to buy in. Alex was extremely important to this team early, and he's still extremely important. Yeah, he's a little bit older, into his career right now, but look at how he's playing, man. The dude's playing extremely well. Whoever just called, I just sent you a text back. I'll try to store your number. I just don't know who you were, but you got to just wait. We started late, so I don't have phone lines open until we can get through a couple of segments, and then I'll get it open. Let's just jump into Dan Campbell, so we can actually get one of the things off the sheet done today. It's one of those days.
Yeah.
All right, Dan Campbell, man, with 97.1, Costa and Jansen. I have not listened to this yet, so I'm interested. I missed it yesterday. Interested to see what he said.
Just for you.
And that's
those guys that are up.
led by Patrick Askia with
There we go. Sorry.
Powered by Auto Intelligence.
Is the head coach of the Lions. He's Dan Campbell. Dan, good morning.
Morning.
Dan. How's it going? Thanks for joining us every Tuesday. And I got to ask you, with DJ Reed down, now Terrion Arnold down, I'm sure you've answered this question 100 times, but it's always next man up. But how do you get guys ready and prepared to face an offense that's led by Patrick Mahomes, and it's going to be on the road? It's going to be a rough environment.
Yeah, I mean, the guys that have been here, we give those guys a ton of reps. They get a lot of real reps. We try to always get, we do ones versus ones, twos versus twos versus ones, outside of what we do on scout team. The scout team work to prepare for the opponent. So we make sure that those guys that are up next have been around our system as much as possible. Now, some guys just walk in the door, right? Like Flowers last week, he had to go to the game. But we try to acclimate some of these guys as fast as possible. And it's understood here that there cannot be a drop-off. Like, we're going to need you. And the coaches will set it up to where we spread the load, man. Some guys are going to have to pick up the slack in other areas. We know this very well. We know all about this. So we'll be ready for this.
Can you guys play as much man coverage? Does the defense have to shift at all when you're missing both those guys?
We're going to do it all.
Okay.
I'd love to know about Giovanni Manu. What'd you think of his performance, and what's it look like moving forward with Taylor Decker?
Yeah, I think it was, what I had said really after the game and then yesterday as well was just that it was up and down. I thought there was some growth there. I thought he did some good things in the run game. I thought he showed some power. There was some get off. There was movement. I thought he showed some strong hands and anchor and some of the play action pass game. And then there were some plays that weren't good. And he's going to learn from them. He's going to grow. It's his first start. And Unfortunately, sometimes that's the best way to grow is, when those things happen to you in a game where you give up a significant player, something happens, because it really, that one singes in your brain. Then it's about the technique, those things, my timing, and I got to learn from it.
Just a follow-up, because one of the things that I've always appreciated, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to get beat. It's the NFL. How did you see him respond? Like, what was the next play or the next series for him?
Yeah, I did think he responded. I thought he responded. I didn't think he went in the tank. And look, all his teammates are helping him out there. I mean, hell, Decker's on the sideline, letting him know, hey, you need to, think about this. This is how you ought to handle this. So, man, everybody, is wanting to help that guy. And we do that with all our players, man. If you're going in and you're expected to help us, man, the rest of our guys, they're good teammates, man. They're going to do whatever they got to do to help you. Try to lessen the burden on you if possible.
You guys made the decision with Taylor Decker not playing early in the week. Are you guys open to him playing this week? Have you made a decision yet?
Yeah, I don't know. And I didn't make that decision early in the week.
Oh, I thought I had read that it was like Tuesday you had decided. Maybe I got the wrong quote then. So
when I said that?
I thought I saw one of the beat writers say that you guys had made the decision on Tuesday of last week. If that's wrong, that's wrong. When do you make that decision this week?
Man, you take it every day and see where we're at. I mean, I know the next thing on Taylor is let's see where he's at Wednesday.
The defensive front for you guys has been able to apply a lot of pressure, and some of those were taken away from penalties, some of it self-inflicted. But, we talked a lot about the edge opposite Aiden Hutchinson. How satisfied are you, and is there more for you guys to be able to get, especially with the prospects of Aleem McNeil coming back sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to know that we're going to get Mac back here at some point, whether it's this week, whether it's next week or the week after. We're just going to take this and see how much he can go and where he's at and how much growth has taken place, get him in shape, all of that. But, I really feel like Hutch is just getting better every week, playing at a high level, and those guys around him are playing at a high level, man. You talk about, man, I just feel like we're violent, we're disruptive. Man, those guys play the run. Muhammad, has been playing a little bit in the middle. Some of these longer yardage, we get him out there, and he's really playing like our defensive tackle. So if teams want to run it against us, because they feel like we're light in there, which I get that, we get that, we know that's probably coming. He's got to be able to hold up in there and battle. But that's not the norm. The norm is most teams want to throw it. So, man, he's doing a heck of a job. He did a heck of a job in that game. Reader, man, I thought played his tail off, can get an edge. Lacey's been helping us out on the perimeter. Tyleek got another bat down. So those guys are at a high level, and Hutch really leads that group. And then here we are talking about Mac. Mac's not even back yet, but he's coming. So it's pretty exciting times, really, for our defense and our front.
Talking to Lions head coach Dan Campbell. David Montgomery had a hell of a game last week, and it looked like that was intentional to get him really going. You have so many mouths to feed in this offense. How much of it is what you game plan during the week, and how much of it is taking what happens in game and playing what the defense gives you?
Well, you got your vision for how you want the game to go and what you think is going to work when you get into it. But you also know, like always, I mean, we get different looks than most teams. We get a lot of unscouted looks. Or things that teams have not shown to this point. And so then you just got to be ready to adjust and adapt, which we had to do this in this game as well. But we wanted to get them all involved. But we did want to get David going, more than we were able to the week before. And I mentioned this, we wanted to get him going the week before. That's the way it went. It was that type of game. And, you go 3 and out and you can't sustain drives, then it's tough. It's tough to spread the ball around, but we wanted to do that, and We did. We got him going. Really, second half, we started to bust it open a little bit, and I thought he started to break some runs. But it was good for him to, get that passing touchdown in the first half, and then he made a heck of a run in the second half. But it was good, man. We got playmakers here. They all know they can help. They're all very explosive players, and we're glad we got them. That's for sure.
This October, Fanatics Casino is taking Generosity every day.
Bet on XBet of 25.
Jump, or where do you want to see improvement this?
Can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. It's smarter car shopping just for
Find your next ride at AutoTrader.com.
Terrible
powered
commercials.
by Auto Intelligence.
You talk about this team getting better every single week. What type of jump, or where do you want to see improvement this week against the Chiefs?
Well, I think, there's a couple of these things where, yeah, man, we of course, we found a way to win that game. We controlled it for really most of the game. You felt like we had that in our grasp. But there were things about it that we have to finish sooner. We can finish better. We shouldn't let it get to a certain point on some things. And those are self-induced. So these things that popped up that caused us not to be able to be in that position were self-induced issues. So we've got to cut those out, man. That's the next step, and we are improving. And I'm just talking about simple things. I think from a coaching staff perspective too, I think we can calm a couple of things down, and we'll be that much more efficient. So between us as coaches, the players, we just clean a couple of things up, and it's going to go a long way. But we continue to get better. We continue to find new ways to win, and this is going to be a tough game. On the road at Arrowhead against really a winner. That was a tough game last time, but they had a chance, and really, it came down to the wire. So we know what we're walking into. We're looking forward to it too, man. We love Arrowhead. I mean, it's a great place. It's a great opponent. It's a winner. Got a ton of respect for this team and this coach. So looking forward to it.
Coaches coach and players play. And you and I have had that opportunity to play in environments like Arrowhead and others like it, and there's a certain juice that you get from it. Now that you're on the sidelines, you can't put the helmet on and go in there. How do you perceive an environment like this, and what does it do for you now that you're coaching, calling plays, and managing the entire thing?
Well, you got to make sure your head's on straight and calm the hell down. That's what you have to do, because it is exciting. And you remember Arrowhead. Arrowhead has always been one of those great places to play. It's like, it's a top five or top three, if not the best. It's just, it's unique. The fans, the stadium itself, all of it. And then knowing you're going against the top tier opponent, it's just it's the perfect recipe. So it gets exciting, but listen, man, that's the players. They're the ones out there on the field, and they gotta get themselves going, but then they got to keep their heads about them. So anyway, this is gonna be great. We're looking forward to it.
He's Dan Campbell, Lions head coach. Dan, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Dan.
Oh, okay. Have a good one.
It's 97.1.
This October, Fanatics Casino is taking Generosity.
Nope, not happening. That's what happens. Whoops, I got to press the wrong button. Everything's changed for me. Hold on.
Yep.
That's what happens when you don't take the time to pull the audio down and scrub it all up. So, yep. Dan Campbell, a lot of things to say here. I took quite a bit of notes. First thing I want to start with is he talks about Manu. Good question. Obviously, trying to figure out, how did Manu actually play in his eyes? And he felt that you mentioned, strong hands, good anchor, kind of played up and down a little bit, which was expected. But he also felt this was the best way to learn. Put his feet to the fire a little bit. I call it the sink or swim technique. Whenever I'd put, new salespeople out across the country, I would give them enough to succeed, but I also wanted them to fail. Like I knew I wasn't getting sales that day. And if I did, man, then that person probably is really great at what they do. So got to sink or swim a little bit. He sunk like a rock at times, straight down to the bottom of the pond. And then he came back up, which is what Dan just mentioned, that he felt like Manu didn't, what was the term he used? I forgot what the term he used, but go in the tank, right? Or dive into the gutter, whatever terminology you want to use for it. But Manu, he had some good reps. He absolutely had some good reps. He went up against one of the best premier edge rushers in the game. So, yeah, he gave up too many sacks, and he's going to learn a lot from that. And whether or not we see him this week, we don't know. But Dan also pushed back on something that we said, or I said on Monday, that the decision to play Manu versus Decker was made last week, Tuesday. And I forget which beat writer put that out. I'm not really worried about who put it out. But Dan said, I said that? No, I didn't say that. I said that? No. So wherever that came from, I think it probably came from Manu, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it came from the interaction with Manu.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put, I'm going to sugarcoat it a little bit. I think that when you play with the injury report and who's up and who's down, I'm sure that Dan Campbell plays it to the line. He didn't used to. When he first was in Detroit, the first 2 seasons, he was an open book. And he wasn't really giving us a whole lot. Matter of fact, when I started doing this 3 seasons ago, I was able to figure out a lot of what was going on with his team just by listening to his press conferences. Because of his body language and everything that I've been trained on with psychology, he gave way too much up. And I keyed in on it. And I was able to get a ton of things right about what was happening because of that. I also voiced that. And it was the next season, they clamped down a little bit. Now, 3 seasons later, they really clamped down. Someone in the chat made a comment saying, I think it was Jody Carithers, and good morning, Jody, and thank you for all of your kind donations to the channel. Says, though I understand why, they never want to give any kind of an answer for when players may be back. Just a broad, indefinite time period. It can be frustrating, but I kind of get it. That's the point now, right? You're playing this intermediate warfare through the week of, I'm not going to tell you who's up or who's down because I want to keep the other team guessing, even though, as minuscule as this might feel to us, it's a little bit of gamesmanship here, where you're trying to play what I call hide the weenie. You don't want to give all your cards out of what's going on this week. And hopefully it's a little bit of a surprise going into the game. The other teams are ready. Like, they're prepared for both things, or 3 options, whatever it is. They're prepared. And maybe lesser to an extent, but they're prepared. But you still don't want to just give it all up if you don't have to. And that's what Dan does. And it's okay. It's just like the jersey thing. What jerseys are they wearing this week? I think a lot of us are like, does it really freaking matter? Put the whole schedule out for the whole season. Does it really matter if your opponent knows? To a degree, kind of. Like, we've seen games where if both teams are wearing the same color or close to the same color, you can get away with a lot more. You can get away with some holding. You can get away with penalties it's because you can't see. Like, if you're going up against a team that's wearing a black jersey and you're able to wear black gloves, your hands kind of disappear, don't they? They don't see it. They don't see all the little tugs. So there's gamesmanship. There's levels to this. He also mentioned Decker. The question is, what point do you make the decision this week? He wanted to see where Decker is today, being Wednesday. So we'll pay attention to the injury report today on what Decker's looking like. I have a feeling that Decker's probably going to be a DNP and won't practice today, but they're still going to be able to work him on, off the sideline. So those first 3 statements and questions. Eric, what's your response to any of this about Manu, how he played, Dan pushing back on the timeline, and then Decker seeing where he's at today to see if he's up this week?
Well, it makes me wish that for 1 second that I worked for Jansen and Costa, because I wanted to ask Dan a question. Dan Campbell, in your opinion, right now, did Manu do enough to warrant starting him for a second game?
You know, I'd have to go back. I'd have to go back and re-listen to that again.
Yeah.
I think he kind of gave that answer, but you'd really have to reach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think you'd really, I just can't remember exactly what he said.
Because he didn't talk about Skipper. He didn't talk about, what's his name, O'Connell, the other guy.
Cochran.
Cochran.
Yeah.
Connolly.
Cochran.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Cochran's probably going to get the start if Decker can't go. Or they'll bring both of them up again. You know, bring both of them to the game. And it could be Manu again. Look, this is a big game. Like, this is a game where I think you have to have Decker, and I almost feel like this was a move to give Decker a little bit of time so that he could be ready for this game. Not to say that the Bengals' defensive front wasn't a load, because it was. Something just tells me the way that I was feeling going into this game, yes, we were going to win the game. Yes, I felt like the Bengals were going to keep it a little bit close at times, and they did. Like, through the first half, I think we had a 14-point lead, and in most games, you feel fairly comfortable with that. But exactly what happened in this Bengals game, I kind of alluded to that in my keys to the game or my conversations last week, where I said, Browning's going to find Chase. He's going to get a deep ball on him. He's going to get a TD out of it. Expect it, and it happened. I expected some things like that to happen because our DBs were a little bit banged up and did not know what was going to happen with TA, or, you know, even if he was in the game, if he was going to be totally healthy. And I think he did a bang-up job. But, man, they kept it interesting in that fourth quarter. As we started to lose players, they started to build, right? And again, you'd have to really go back and watch the game. How did the defense respond? What type of fits were we in? You know, schematically wise, what were we doing differently? And I felt like we were getting burned more on the single high safety than anything else, which single high safety, in my opinion, when you're running man, that is when you need the best of the best out there. You cannot run man with guys that you know, are not the cream of the crop going up against two of the cream of the crop, you know, on the outside, receiver-wise. Just can't do it. In this game, going up against the Chiefs, oh boy, they thrive on zone. I read the numbers last night. Patrick Mahomes was like 37 of 46 in zone. On 37 dropbacks out of 46 attempts in zone, he was carving up, oh my God, who did they play Monday night? The
Jaguars.
Yeah. So zone might not be our answer with Patrick Mahomes, even though it probably should be if we don't have the ponies, or if we don't have the horses on the outside. That's why I said, man, I feel like this could be a boat race type of a game where it does not matter what your defensive line does, because Mahomes can get the ball out fast. Worthy is now back. That dude is electric. He had a terrible first game. He'll have a better second game. I'm less concerned about their run game. And I think that this is an opportunity where we're going to see how the Lions can respond early, because I feel like this is going to be a game that's going to go back and forth early, and then the Lions are going to pull away. The score prediction I gave last night, which is not my final of the week, was 40-27. And that sounds like an absolute slaughtering. But the way I described it is, I said, I think for the first half or so, it's going to go back and forth. These teams are going to find each other early. And then the Lions are going to make some changes in that second half. They'll clamp down a little bit and pull away. That's just how I see this game. Doesn't mean it'll be 40-27, but that's how I see this game going at the end of the day. So you can lock that in. That's how I feel it's going to go. Schematically wise, score wise, what the Lions should do to win, those keys will come out on Saturday. And I'll do a good job on this one this week. It's almost identical to the Ravens. A couple other things he said, which it's funny. I just said a few moments ago. I felt like Hutch has been getting better every week too, and he looks better every week. This last game, I mean, I wasn't as impressed. I don't know how he got a 90 score, and we're going to talk about how PFF pass rush grades are done today. It's interesting, to say the least. It's kind of a long, boring segment, but it's not boring if you really care to listen and learn about how this stuff is actually graded, because then I think you'll give a little bit more respect, or lack thereof, I should say, to PFF, because PFF, I think, is a giant conspiracy. Honestly, we just use it for all the other stats. I don't care about the grades. We talk about them, but you and I both watch the games and the film, so it's a different perspective. He feels like our front four is violent, disruptive. Playing the run is, what we do best, and AQM getting tackle opportunities inside. That's been fun to watch. These guys flip inside and outside. I was hoping what we saw in practice was legit, and it has been legit. Our defensive tackles are flipping to the outside, and our defensive ends are flipping to the inside. I love it. Tyleek Williams, batted passes. It was one of my keys to Tyleek before the Lions drafted him. I loved what this kid was doing at Ohio State. Always getting his hands up. Always willing to make a play. Any way he can help on a play, he's going to do something. And so far through this season, he might be leading in batted passes right now, which that's just as good as a TFL. When you stop the other team by not allowing them to push the ball downfield, it's just as good as a TFL to me. So with that, what are your comments?
I like it. I also took some notes, and he said a few things about the defensive line. Like Muhammad has been playing some at defensive tackle. They've been moving him inside a little bit. I didn't even realize that rewatching the games. So I might have to rewatch this last game. And I think he was really setting things up, because he talked about how they wanted to get Demo really involved in that last game, because the game before he wasn't so much involved. So I think this also kind of sets up this game with the Chiefs with the whole Manu Decker situation. I think Decker will be back this week. I really do. And I think that he probably could have went last week, but they wanted to get basically the rookie and Manu. They wanted to get him some reps, wanted to see where they're at with him in an opponent that is a lesser opponent. And I see people in the chat talking about how the Chiefs don't have an edge rusher like the Bengals did with Trey Hendrickson. So I got to looking, and their left edge is George Karlaftis, and then their other edge position is Mike Dana. So Karlaftis, that's a name I hear all the time when I'm watching Chiefs games. So that's the guy that would be lined up against Manu most of the time.
Well, hold on. Let's take a look at his snap alignment. But last night, the Chief guys, when I said, they kind of said the same thing and I don't know who said it in the chat, but the Chiefs guys said last night that they really didn't have any edge pressure, and it's primarily Chris Jones, to be the game wrecker. I said, what about Karlaftis? Like, that dude's been great. I absolutely love that guy coming out of college, and I thought the Lions would go after somebody like Karlaftis. They didn't. Not to say that he wasn't on their list, but they didn't take him. I don't even remember if they had an opportunity to take him, but I think he has 3.5 sacks this year already. Yeah. That's not terrible. I mean, we're only into week 6.
Yep.
He's averaging just 3/4 of a sack per game or something. That's pretty good. And he can wreck a game. Karlaftis has had some really good games throughout his career so far. And if you put him on the same side as Jones, both those guys can cause some trouble, especially when you're lining up against a Lions offensive line that could be without Decker. I would expect Spagnuolo to put both of those guys closer to the left side of the Lions offensive line and to put more pressure on the, coming from the right side of the defense. They really disguise things quite well So you really don't know where the pressure is going to come from, or if they're going to run a blitz or two-way blitz. You really don't know where it's coming from because he uses a ton of disguise, and Manu may not be ready for that. The thing that I like about our opportunity is that Manu goes up against this stuff in practice, and he said, which I thought was nuts of him saying this after the game. We played it yesterday. He was asked how the speed of the game was, Manu, and he said, "Yeah, wasn't as fast as it is in practice." It made my head spin a little bit. Like, huh? What do you mean? Well, obviously going up against Aiden and Davenport when he was in, and AQM, pretty good football players, right? So he's going up against some damn good competition, some of the best in the league. So that would make sense if he were to get all of the, one reps, which he didn't. So that made me feel a little bit better that the game is not too fast for Manu. But that also tells me that then he should have played a much better game if the game is not that fast for him. So it's a good point for Manu. It just has to translate to the field. I'll open up Karloftis PFF, take a look. Whatever else you want to add to that. The last thing I had on here was, where does the improvement come, from this week versus the Chiefs? So whatever you want to add to that. Let me pull this up.
Well, a couple more things that I took from Dan's talking here is that we let the Bengals score too much in the fourth quarter, and it was self-induced. So at the time that Terry and Arnold went out in the fourth quarter, we were up 28-3. And after he went out, all of a sudden we let up 3 quick scores, and we let them get up to 24 points. And I think to Dan, that is totally unacceptable. And he knows that they need to fix that. And he is not overlooking the Chiefs. He said, this is going to be a tough game versus the Chiefs. And he's not overlooking a wounded team. And he mentioned how they're wounded and they've lost a couple of games now. They have a losing record for the first time after 5 weeks in recorded history. For the longest time.
Or at least the last 15 years or so.
Yeah, the last 10, 15 years, they have not had a losing record after 5 weeks. And he also talked about how Arrowhead is a top 5 place to play. It's a great outdoor stadium, holds a lot of people. For once, we're going to play on a real field with real grass, and it's going to be a good field with good real grass, not one of these sloppy slip all around the place, depending on weather, and he still considers the Chiefs a top tier opponent. And as do I. Don't take for granted that they've lost 3 games and think that this is going to be an easy, just come in and whoop the crap out of them. And I don't think we're going to come in and put a 50 burger on the Chiefs. Now, could it happen? Yes, but I think this is going to be our first come down to the end. Jake Bates kicks a 59-yarder in the wind to seal the game, whether it's in regulation or overtime. This might be the most difficult game we've had all season, other than the first game of the year. I really think the first game of the year was a lot of this offensive line just not knowing who they were yet, not having the communication, not having things down pat yet. And it's a real bummer that we didn't play them a little bit in the preseason to get them ready for all working together. They never played any snaps as a whole unit in the preseason with all the starters. So I'm going to chalk the first game up to that was our preseason. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing when we get to the power rankings today. You're going to see that is what the rest of the NFL believes now as well. We are scoring at an unbelievable pace through the last 4 games. And I do think that the Chiefs defense may be kind of a wounded animal right now. Their players are not putting in the most effort in the world. And I do see the Lions putting up quite a few points on the Chiefs Sunday night at Arrowhead.
When you say the Chiefs are wounded, what do you mean by that? Like, do they have
you've
injuries on
never
the
seen
defense?
them-
I didn't see any injuries on the report for
No,
the
I
Chiefs.
don't think they're a depleted defense or offense. I just think that they're a wounded animal. They're not the king of the jungle anymore. They're not the top dog. The Chiefs are used to being the number one team in all the power rankings. They're used to being first place in their division. And right now, they're not first place in their division. You know, and this is the first time in forever. This is such a different place for Kansas City to be. This is someplace they have not been for many, many years.
All right, well, I will give you this. I'm going to give you one of my keys to the game right now, and you can lock this one in. I'm telling you right now, it's a rock's lock, man. Sam Laporta, 2 weeks in a row, this dude is going to have a giant game against the Chiefs. He will have a much better game than Kelsey. What did Sam put up last week? 92 yards?
I do not remember.
I think it was close to that. I would say that Sam is going to be every bit of 70 yards in this game, if not more. It's going to be a big game for Sam. You know, I'm saying you can lock that in just based on what I've seen in the research that I did last night. You know, after I was talking with the Chiefs guys, I asked them the question, you know, what do you think about, you know, your defense against tight ends? And they thought that their defense was doing okay. And the numbers that I came up with is that their defense so far through 5 games has allowed over 300 yards to tight ends. On average, the numbers that I pulled earlier this morning, it's about 50 yards per game per tight end. And the teams that have been targeting them, like Jacksonville, 7 of 8 targets. They were 7 of 8 for 61 yards in the TD. The Ravens were 6 for 6 for 49. The Giants were 7 of 13 for 43. The Eagles were 5 of 11 for 62. And the Chargers were 3 of 5 for 50 and a TD. Even if you were to go back to last season, man, they had some big games. The Raiders put 126 yards on them through Brock Bowers. The Panthers put up 128 on them. I don't even know who the Panthers tight end was at that time. The Bucks put up 109. The Raiders again 113. The Saints 104. The Chargers 129. And we have an elite tight end. But it's not just that. It's J-Mo. It's St. Brown. It's Gibbs. It's Monty. It's mouths to feed. Right? It's like being Octomom. I call it the Magnificent Seven because you have 7 legitimate weapons on this field at any given moment. And Goff just needs to pick one. That's all he has to do. He has to get through his progressions and pick one. And I think Sam's going to get fed. So I'm going to go Sam is probably going to get targeted at least 8 times in this game. Probably 7 of 8, 70-plus yards in a TD. Lock it in. That's one of my calls of the week. Karlaftis, to go back to that, he is lining up pretty even. He's on the right side, which would be left tackle. A little bit less. But he is on the right side, 80 snaps, 102, 110 on the season. Left side, about 109, 119, call it 140. So fairly even. He's flip-flopping, but spending a little bit less time. I would expect him to be more on the right side against Manu, like you said.
Yeah.
I would. And I think that they're going to try to take advantage. If Manu's in the game, they're going to try to take advantage of that. Putting him up against Sewell, yeah, good luck. You ain't doing nothing. Even though Sewell's pass pro has not been great, yeah, I think he'll be able to handle Karlaftis. It's just when Jones starts to get going, that's when I start to worry. If he gets going. I see some of their comments in the chat. You guys are talking about JMO speed versus Worthy speed. And here's my thing on speed. Like, JMO's fast, right? Super fast. He's fast. There's some differences with speed. And we've had this argument conversation plenty of times. But even on the Lions squad, you've got Gibbs and you've got JMO, two of the faster guys in the league, right? And I say faster guys because they're different speed-wise. Gibbs, short area quickness, short area burst. The punch off the line, the first, 15 yards, the dude is fast, super fast, right? JMO, on the other hand, he gets out the gate pretty good, but he's got long legs. So his speed is a little bit longer. When you get up over 20, 25 yards, that is when he kicks it into another level. So his 40 speed might be pretty good, but his 60 speed is even better. So there's a big difference with speed. Worthy is a little bit opposite of JMO. He gets out quick, and then he tops out. And so that's where JMO, I think, would catch him in a longer race. But I think Worthy gets him on the short, and Gibbs will get him on the short. But JMO will get both of those guys on the long. That's just how it works, man. It's some guys are long speed, some guys are short speed. That's why you have 100-meter hurdlers, and you got 400-meter guys. It's totally different. Being able to run long distance or short distance. Either way, JMO he's a matchup nightmare, so it doesn't even matter. He just needs to show up in this game. And 2 weeks in a row not having a good game, I'm a bit concerned. I'm less concerned because the targets weren't there. But when I go back to watch the tape or the film last night and yesterday, I was a bit concerned. Or Monday, excuse me. I watched it more on Monday too. Yeah, he's blocking downfield. He's getting involved in the game that way, and his blocking was incredible against the Bengals. But he's not getting open. And that's the concerning part to me. What we don't know is his assignment. Was he even really a target? Probably. But was he the third or fourth option? That's the question. And I would say in the game against the Bengals, he was probably more the third or fourth option. And that's not saying that they don't trust him. It's just the game plan, right? When I said last week I expected Sam Laporta to have a big game, he was going to be one of the first options. When I expected Amon-Ra St. Brown to have a big game, because he was one of the first options. So I think that Sam and Amon-Ra were 1 and 2. And then depending on what Gibbs was doing or what Monty was doing out of the backfield, they could have even been 3. Why? Because the Bengals, not so great, against the screen pass, not so great against covering, running backs out of the backfield. But for whatever reason, they were doing much better with the stuff up over the top and the longer balls. So same thing going up against Kansas City is they do a great job against the long ball, but they struggle against the intermediate stuff. And that's where I think that the Lions are going to take advantage of the Chiefs is all of the intermediate, so 0 to 10, 10 to 15, even 17 yards. But beyond 20, that is where Chiefs kind of clamp down. So we may not see a bunch of big deep balls in this game. It could be more of peppering that, 8 to 12 yard range. And honestly, when I go back and look at all the charts, that's what I see happening. So it's going to be a yak kind of a game. It probably 8, 9 play drives, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, I'd rather see, some of that in the second half where we can bleed it out a little bit. I hope that we can catch them early, right? I hope that we can catch them early with a couple of shots. Put them on their heels a little bit. I do still think it's going to be a boat race in the first half, meaning we're going to score a little bit quicker, or both teams are going to kind of score one after another. We just need our defense to show up. I just know that our defensive front against Patrick Mahomes and his ability to navigate those pockets and move, if Aiden and AQM get too deep, then Mahomes is going to hurt us. So we've got to treat it like Lamar Jackson, and I think we'll be just fine. But if you look at what happened in that game, man, when did all the sacks happen? Like the second half, end of the third, into the fourth quarter, when we just totally beat them down. You know, we were beating that offensive line down, and Calvin made some definite switches to the game plan in that second half, and it worked. We'll see what happens, man. But I'll digress from that. I don't want to get too deep off. All right, let's get into power rankings.
All right.
Unless there's anything you guys see in the chat. I don't see anything. All right, quick break before we get into power rankings. And I just got to check something real quick. I love how it reset everything for me. Not happy about that.
It's game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning.
Whoops.
I caught what you did there.
I didn't mean to hit the button. Anyway, so let's move on to power rankings for the week. Let's start with let's do overall. I see you right there. Let's do overall.
Yep. Sure.
And you want to just flip flop, or I'll start first. You take the Lions. So number one, Buffalo Bills this week, no change. They have remained at number one now for a few weeks. Their chance of making the playoffs right now, 95%. Their chance of making the Super Bowl, only 16%. It's kind of weird being number one. The Bills were considered one of the best teams in the league heading into week 5, and a close 23-20 loss to the Patriots, which hell of a defense by the Patriots, by the way, shouldn't really change that according to PFF. Now, multiple turnovers plagued that offense for the first time since week 10 of the 2024 season, and the defense allowed 8 explosive plays. The Bills might have won this on another day, but they're still 4-1 and have a 16% chance of winning the Super Bowl, the highest odds in the NFL right now. How about them Lions, man?
Yeah, so in this power ranking...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Sorry. My bad.
Yeah?
Mueller. I totally, I put the message out. Mueller. L. Mueller joined the loyalty crew this morning. I can't see it. It's too far back. So I wanted to say thank you. I wanted to say welcome into the membership group. And what you could do is go to the community tab on YouTube, and you'll see a post from this week that is for the Voxer chat. It's the members only chat. So you download Voxer to your phone, and then you come back to that tab or to that message, and then you click the link, and it'll bring you in. Just make sure you set up your profile to look identical to YouTube. So same handle, same picture, so we know it's you. And then obviously don't share the link with anybody. But once you're in, I'll lock it down today. So if you can get that done today, that would be great. And you can tag me. You can tag anybody when you're in there. Use the @ symbol just like you do on YouTube. So you hit @WillRock or whatever my handle is. I forgot what my handle is in there. But it's the best way to communicate. Obviously, we've got a good group of people in there that talk football all day, every day. There's a couple of rules that I added to it just so that we're a little conscious of time zones and people's sleep. But you can also control your notification settings in the settings so that, you can turn it off or keep it on silent or whatever you'd like to do. But welcome in, man. Appreciate you. And like everybody, you guys are the best part of this channel. I don't care if you're listening, if you're watching, if you're subscribed, if you're a member. Everyone plays a big role in this channel. So thank you. Let's get you loaded up with an Amik missile this morning.
On 3rd and 14, Jones has got it, setting up a screen, and it's blown up. Oh, my goodness. Amik Robertson just sent ETN back to Jacksonville.
All right, let's do it, man. Who's number 2 on the power rankings this week?
Well, in this power rankings, they had the Detroit Lions up 3 spots from last week. And every other power ranking I could find this week, they have the Detroit Lions at number 1. Their chance of making the playoffs is 79%. And their chances of making the Super Bowl is 9%. But if you go look at some of the betting odds, the Lions are in the 20% to make it to the Super Bowl this year. Since their week 1 humbling, the Lions have ripped off 4 straight wins, including a 37-24 victory against the Cincinnati Bengals. In week 5, that was more comfortable than the scoring suggested. The team's rushing attack didn't prosper as effectively against the Bengals as expected, but the Lions still totaled 365 yards, and Amon-Ra St. Brown continues to dominate. His 90.5 overall PFF grade is second among receivers in the NFL, and the Lions are the current favorite to win a competitive NFC North. And I believe they have the same odds as the Philadelphia Eagles now to win the NFC and make their way to the Super Bowl.
All right, so let's flip it upside down now. We've done PFF. Okay, now we go to ESPN. ESPN has Buffalo Bills as number 2. And they said the loss to the Patriots, obviously 23-20, week 4 ranking. They were number 2, so they stayed lateral. They didn't move. This could, here's what they said. This could also be running back James Cook, but Kincaid has been the bigger eye-opener. He has a more significant role and the second most fantasy points among tight ends. After being ranked number 15 at the position in ESPN's Fantasy's preseason projections. In his 3rd season, Kincaid already has a career high in receiving touchdowns and was targeted 6 times in 3 of the 5 games. A healthy Kincaid and a growing relationship with quarterback Josh Allen are all positives for fantasy managers, even in an offense that spreads the ball around. And then last week, the Detroit Lions were ranked number 3. And according to PFF, the Lions were up 3, so they were ranked at number 5 last week. This week, for ESPN, the Detroit Lions are the best team in the league, ranked number 1. Here's what they said. Week 4 rankings. Lions up 3. Fantasy surprise, Jameson Williams. After his first 1,000-yard season in 2024, Williams has started slowly in 2025. He hasn't logged more than 50 receiving yards in 4 of the Lions' 5 games. As he works to get in sync with the veteran quarterback Jared Goff and overcome drop passes, Williams is viewed as a risky option because he's averaging only 7.9 fantasy points per game in PPR leagues. He hasn't turned limited targets into production or delivered consistently this season, but he can still make big plays, according to Eric Woodyard. So, Attila, to answer the rest of your question, the difference between an ESPN and the PFF and NFL.com, and I mean, go down the line, Bleacher Report, I don't care who you use, 33rd Team, there is so many different ones out there, is I always felt that ESPN's was geared towards fantasy and not rankings. If you know what I'm saying? They're more geared towards fantasy rankings, not overall NFL rankings and talking about the team. So it's just a little bit of a nuance, a little bit of a difference. But yeah, we do use all of them. I do look at all of them and try to figure out what each team is saying. So my question would be this: are we number 1 or are we number 2? Do you guys think we're number 1 because we deserve to be there because now there's no undefeated teams? Or are we number 2 because we still have some work to do yet and we have a lot of injuries? And I think the injuries plays a role in that. I really do. I think that when you're missing some guys, your ranking is dependent upon your roster. Now, if the Lions can go in and take down the Chiefs, then I think that it's a convincing number one. Right now, I think the Lions are at number 2 simply because our roster is a little bit banged up. And I need to see more. I have to see Manu another week. I have to see how they're going to play without our 2 top dogs on the outside. And the Chiefs are the best team to go against to see if we have enough, right? As long as our offense can score points, we have enough. But if our offense can't get going, we don't have enough. And that's the unfortunate side to it. So now that I've said all that, Eric, what do you think? Are we number 1 or are we number 2?
Well, I'm kind of in agreement because I was trying to put this together in my head. Who are my, top 5, top 6 teams? And if I had to do it myself, I would probably put the Lions at number 2. But if you look around the NFL landscape of power rankings, which there are a ton of them, it's almost unanimous that they have the Lions at number 1. So the Ringer, they have the Lions at number 1, previously at number 3. NFL.com has the Lions at number 1, previously 3. Sports Illustrated, they have the Lions at number 1 after being 3. ESPN the same. Yahoo Sports the same. The Athletic the exact same. CBS Sports the exact same. And USA Today, they moved them from number 5 all the way to number 1 after beating the lowly Bengals. But the Sporting News, they have them 2 and previously had them at number 5. And they say the Lions offense is humming with typical balance and explosiveness after a rough week 1 at Green Bay. The defense has started to become a bigger factor, imposing its will thanks to Aiden Hutchinson performing at a dominant all-around level. So if I had to do it myself, I do think that the Bills would still be number 1. They did lose that game, but they just had an off game, kind of like the Lions did against Green Bay. And I think that the Bills so far this season have probably faced a little bit stiffer of competition than the Lions have. It's just the Lions have been dominating. They have been crushing people. Our offense is exposing defenses, and we have the largest point differential in the NFC. We don't have the largest point differential in the AFC. That would be the Indianapolis Colts. So I would probably put it the Detroit Lions at 2, the Buffalo Bills at 1, the Colts at 3. And then I would go to the other 4-1 teams like the Eagles, the San Francisco 49ers, and I may even slide the Rams up above 1 or 2 of those 4-1 teams because I think the Rams are a lot better than they've shown over the last couple of games.
Okay. Okay, let me recap that a little bit. So CBS has us at 1, NFL.com has us at 1, and the Athletic has us at 1, PFF has us at 2, but pretty much everyone else has us at number 1.
Yes.
My biggest question would be this, and I think the hardest question to answer right now is who's really number 2. I think that there's too many teams that are so close. Here's the argument that has been made, and I failed to put this together today, but hold on.
I like what Trey says. Green Bay needs to stop living in the past. Yeah. Every day, no matter what, on social media.
It's funny. There's 2 fan bases that are so similar. One's a college team and one's a professional team.
Yeah.
I'll leave that alone.
They just cannot let week 1 go that they beat us. Wait till Thanksgiving, Packer fans. Wait till Thanksgiving.
Okay, so what I failed to put together is the argument that was presented. Have the Lions beat teams with winning records?
Yeah.
All right. Have we beat teams with winning records this season? And
No.
and I'll prepare this for tomorrow because I don't want to glorify it. I don't want to just blow by it. I want to prepare it so that we can go in and look at each team that we've beat, each team that the other top 5 teams have beat, and we'll do a segment on it tomorrow so that we can identify who should be where, maybe, and I guess in our opinion, and that way we can have a better conversation because it's way too much information to try to find right now. But it's a good argument, and I would say that's kind of partly where my brain lives. I will make this statement, and I said it last night, and the Chief guys had a laugh at it. The 49ers are flat out frauds. They have no business winning games right now. I don't know how they are, but they are not who you think they are. The 49ers are frauds. And so I do not expect them to be a dominant team at the end of the season. They have an easier schedule. They're beating up on some teams. They're barely winning games. And so when I look at the NFL rankings, here, let me pull that up. When I look at the rankings, the one thing that I always look at is PF and PA. And what that means is points for, points against. Teams like the Colts, they're not frauds. And the reason why is they have a plus 74 point difference. 163 to 89. The Bills, not frauds. 153 to 113 plus 40 difference in point differential. The Jacksonville Jaguars, not frauds. The Broncos, not frauds. The Patriots, borderline. Again, they've got a really good defense going right now. Their offense can be a little bit suspect. The Houston Texans, as much as I really hate to say this, they're sitting at 2-3, but they shouldn't be. They're not allowing, they've allowed teams to only score 61 points this whole season. 5 games, 61 points. That's absurd. In the NFC, right now the Detroit Lions are plus 62. 174 to 112. We absolutely deserve to be where we are, at least at number 2. The Seattle Seahawks, plus 41. They have the second highest number in the NFC. The Eagles are at plus 16. So that means over the course of 5 games, they've been winning games by less than 4 points combined, right? As an average. To me, that means that you're just one score away. You're one bounce of a football away from losing that game.
Well, the Rams had them until they had that block punt return for a touchdown at the end of the game.
Well, there you go. The ball bounced the right way.
Yep.
Right? And that's all it takes sometimes. Dan Campbell said it often enough where, a lot of this is preparation, being prepared. It's having the right mentality. It's having the right culture, the right identity, all that good stuff, right? Got to have the right players. But you have to have a little bit of luck because that ball just needs to bounce the right way. It's the difference of that ball getting blocked and bouncing. I don't remember the play in my head. Let's say it bounced left and not right. Right into you, right? Or bounce left away from you to where you get tackled and you can't return it. That's the difference of the game. And sometimes that nose of the football just wants to bounce right to you. And other games, it will run away from you. And that's the difference of winning or losing. So that's why the point difference is so important to take a look at because it'll tell you, all right, well, if the ball did bounce a different way that day, are the Lions going to lose? And the answer is hell no. It's not because the team shouldn't even be close.
Yep.
They really shouldn't. So that's what I look at. And so when I look at ranking teams, right now I have the Lions at number 2. Excuse me. Man, the Colts, you could make an argument for number 1 for the Colts right now. You really could. But they are just kind of getting back onto the scene after futility for a long time. The Buffalo Bills have always been hanging out in the top. So that's why I can't walk away from the Bills right now. I don't have the Eagles, obviously, at number 1. I have the Bills currently at number 1. I would stick with it. I'd put Philly probably at number 4. I'd put the Colts at number 3. But let's go through the rest here. So sticking with PFF, number 3 is Philadelphia. They went from 2 to 3. Their chance of making the Super Bowl, just like the Detroit Lions, is 9% according to PFF. Here's what they say. And then there were none. Like the Bills, the Eagles dropped their first game of the season, losing 21-17 at home versus the Broncos. Week 5 was a strange offensive performance from the Eagles, who essentially abandoned their entire identity that saw them win a Super Bowl a year ago. Jalen Hurts had a solid game passing, earned a 79.7 PFF passing grade, but the Eagles collectively carried the ball 11 times in the game, and Saquon Barkley having just 9 total touches. So they abandoned the run big time. They're at number 3 according to PFF, and according to ESPN, they're number 3 as well. Who's number 4?
I don't have that ESPN up.
No, in PFF. Well, if you don't have it up still, here I'll keep rolling. Yeah. So number 4 is Kansas City. They are down 1. They've gone from 3 to 4. Their chance of making the playoffs 69%, and like the other 2 teams in the top 4, they have a 9% chance of making the Super Bowl. The Chiefs fell back below 500 after losing to the Jaguars on Monday night, and naturally there will be some concerns over the state of the team. But the Chiefs were just outplayed in the second half by the Jags. In saying that, if there's one thing that needs to change, it's the fact that Patrick Mahomes led the team in rushing again. Kansas City needs some more punch in the run game, whether that comes in the form of more touches for the rookie Brashard Smith, which the Chiefs guys last night kept saying that's what they want to see, who also posted an 86.3 overall PFF grade against the Jags. Or they need to do something via trade and bring somebody in. Somehow the Packers are at number 5. And so, again, going back to my initial argument, the Chiefs are 2 and 3. The Packers are 2-1-1. So they've only played 4 games because they had a bye week this week. The Chiefs have played 5 games at 2 and 3. Why is a team with a losing record in the top 5? That doesn't make any sense to me. Well, ESPN doesn't think so. ESPN has the Kansas City Chiefs all the way at number 10. And I would say that might be a little egregious. I'd probably put them around number 8 in that arena, but I definitely wouldn't have them in the top 5. I wouldn't have the Packers in the top 5 or even the top 7. No way. And the San Francisco 49ers, just because they have a good record, who have they beat? Right? That's the question. So let's take a look real quick. And again, I'll finish this today for tomorrow. Yeah. The Niners schedule. They started out the season against the Seahawks. They barely won that game. First game for Sam Darnold to kind of figure out that offense was a bad game. Bad game for everybody in week 1. Usually is. Then they took on the Saints. Well, the Saints are a crap team. And they barely won by 5 points against the Saints, who are honestly the Aints in 2025. And then the Cardinals, another team that, borderline bottom feeders. I think the Cardinals have some assets, but they're not putting it together. They're 2 and 3 right now. So it's not an exciting win. They won by 1 point. And then they won by 5 points. They lost by 5 points to the Jags. Now, the Jags are a legit team, in my opinion. I don't think they're a complete team. I think they're a legit team. I think they have some pieces, but I think that they're exposable. I think that you can definitely beat them with the right scheme. And then they took on the Rams, which we know that game shouldn't have been won by the 49ers, but it was. And again, they only won by 3 points. So I don't see how the 49ers, comparatively to the schedule that they've played, the Saints and the Cardinals being teams that are not very good. The Seahawks are starting to put it all together now. The Jags, they're a good team, but they're not great. You compare that to a Lions schedule or any other schedule that's in the top 5, And the 49ers, they just don't belong. Their win over the Rams was lucky. It was not dominant. They have 0 dominant wins. And I think that if you deserve to be in the top 5, you need to show the world why you belong there. And I think that you need to have some dominant wins offensively and defensively. And the Lions have done both. They were dominant against the Ravens, both offensively and defensively. And they've been dominant against every team since week 2, offensively. And we've had some good games defensively too. So, anything you want to add to power rankings for the day?
Yeah, if you look at the San Francisco 49ers point differential, it's only 8 points.
Yeah, frauds.
8 points. That tells you that team is razor thin. That's less than 2 points a game. They're winning the games by, with 5 games in at 4-1. So if you take that, that's 4 wins. They're winning by 2 points a game in the games that they've won. And that is not a very commanding offense to be putting up numbers like that.
So here's the other thing I don't get. To kind of move on to a different team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Where do the Pittsburgh Steelers belong in this conversation right now? Remove Aaron Rodgers, right? Don't even think about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Take the fandom out of it.
Yeah. So PFF has the Steelers at 17. ESPN has the Steelers at. Oh, they must be down.
What's their record? 3-2.
I just had it in front of me. Where are they? 3-1. They had a bye week this week. They must have.
So
they must have.
3-1. They have a pretty good record, but the point differential for the Steelers is -2.
Exactly. How are they? So I'm looking at NFL.com too. So the Steelers are ranked 13 by ESPN, but looking at ESPN's NFL standings, and I'm not sure how they're ranking this for the standings, the overall standings. For the AFC, it has the Colts at 1, the Bills at 2, the Steelers at 3, the Chargers at 4, the Jags at 5, the Broncos at 6, the Patriots at 7, the Bengals at 8, and the Texans at 9, and the Chiefs at 10. Ravens at 12, and nobody cares about the rest. So I don't see how the Steelers can be at number 3 when you have the Jacksonville Jaguars have a better record at 4-1, and they're down at 5. And the Jacksonville Jaguars have a plus 27 point differential, whereas the Pittsburgh Steelers are -2. Talk about razor thin. Like they're underwater. You can't trust the Steelers to win any game. I don't see how the overall is what it is in the AFC. In the NFC, they have the Eagles at 1 at 4-1. They have the San Francisco 49ers at 2 at 4-1. They have the Bucks at 3 at 4-1. And the Lions at 4 at 4-1. So again, I don't understand the standings and why the standings are different than their record or their.
It's because of the divisional wins and losses. The Lions have a divisional loss.
Maybe it's conference.
Yeah,
not
because
division.
We lost to the Packers.
Yeah, so I guess all of those teams are undefeated. Philly and the Niners are undefeated in the conference. And Tampa's 2-1. All right, so let me go back up. AFC. Well, no, because they have the Chargers at number 4 and they're 3-0. But they have the Bills at number 2 and they're 2-1 and 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
That's that can't be the answer. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know how they're ranking that. But I think that when you use common sense, I think common sense would tell you a different story.
Hey, you want to know a really fun fact?
Sure.
The Lions have the longest win streak in the NFL at 4 games right now.
Love it. All right, so I'm a little concerned that about something. We haven't heard anything from Josh Pascal.
Nope.
Okay, so Dan Campbell on 97.1 The Ticket yesterday was given some updates on just about everybody. It felt like he said a few names, but there's the one name he didn't say, and that was Josh Pascal. How did we go from a week one he should be up to he's not? How does that happen?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same thing with Rodrigo as well.
I mean, is this more? I would love, for you guys to let me know in the comments, later on in the chat right now. Do you think that this is more of a, okay, we're just going to bring guys back as we need them? Or is there something more sinister going on here? You know what I'm saying? Like, what would be your immediate reaction to that? Like, what would you think? What do you think the real story is? And so I put this together, which I'm about to throw up on Twitter. Here you go. The old milk carton days.
Yeah.
Have you seen me? I'm gonna start posting it up on telephone poles around city of Detroit.
We do know that he missed a few games last year because he had a reoccurring cancer scare. So I don't know if it's that, if it's his back, if he has an injury, he hurt himself in the offseason. We just don't know. We're not filled in with any information. And then what if the Lions just don't need him to come back? I think that might be the same story with Rodrigo. I think our linebackers are doing so well and we have so much depth. Now, Cunningham got hurt, but he should be back anytime now. And we didn't put Cunningham on IR. So we might be good to go at linebacker, and we may not see Rodrigo back this year. And this was his fourth year last year on his contract. Same thing with Pascal. This is the final year of their contracts. So we may not see them at all unless needed.
Yeah, I
Even
think
if they are healthy.
I think that Malcolm Rodriguez, I think that Malcolm Rodriguez offers a little bit more to this team, at least on special teams. Maybe not as much in the linebacker room right now, but I do feel like he's a very, very valuable piece to this roster. And in our special teams, as you know, like they covet special teams.
Mm-hmm.
They need, all three phases to work. Anyway, I'm hopeful that Josh Pascal is okay medically. And I guess that's just where I'm gonna put that, I guess, I'm gonna compartmentalize that today.
Mm-hmm.
That he's gonna be okay medically, because, obviously, you go through cancer. I've been through cancer, and it never leaves your brain. It's always, on the forefront of your head. And he had some form of skin cancer, I believe, melanoma or something on the bottom of his foot, I believe is what it was.
Oh, I thought it was something on his back.
His first that happened in Kentucky. The first thing was his foot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can find out. So Pascal's, he had what they call a rare aggressive acrolentiginous melanoma, ALM. And it was diagnosed in 2018 on the sole of his foot. The cancer was found after an initial spot, initially thought to be a blood blister, was biopsied. And Pascal underwent multiple surgeries and immunotherapy to treat the cancer. Became a symbol of hope, obviously, in raising awareness for early skin cancer detection. Anyway, ALM is a rare and aggressive form of skin cancer. So clearly, it's not like this isn't a big deal. And people lose their life to skin cancer.
Yeah. Oh, my
Skin-
father-in-law died from skin cancer on the bottom of his foot.
Skin cancer is skin is the largest organ of your body. It's crazy to think about your skin that way, but it's the largest organ of your body. So it just has me a little concerned that we're not hearing anything. And is he okay? It's none of our business. Obviously, we think about it from a football perspective. Are we going to get him back? And why is there nothing being talked about? So it makes me think that maybe something's going on. Anyway, hope he's okay.
Oh, yes.
All right, take a brief break, and then I got to go get my pup. You have the offense open? The next power ranking?
Let's see.
Or is there anything on your sheet that you want to get to before that?
Nope, not really.
Yeah, let's just finish out these power rankings.
Sure.
All right, so we'll run through the NFL team offense rankings through week 5. And then defense rankings. We'll kind of run through this really quickly. It's a lot of the same information that I use in the keys to the game. I'll be right back in just a few moments. But Eric, if you wouldn't mind just kind of starting with total offense and just go, from left to right. Cowboys, 406 yards, 17 TDs scored. They're number 1. And kind of work your way down. I'll be right back.
Yeah. And coming in at number 2, you have the Rams with 401.8 yards and 14 touchdowns. Number 3, you have the Bills at 395.8 yards per game and 18 touchdowns. Number 4, you have the Indianapolis Colts with 381.2 yards a game and 18 touchdowns. The 49ers, they're throwing the ball a lot, 375.8 yards per game and 10 touchdowns through the air. Now, in stark contrast to that, the Detroit Lions are only putting up 365 yards per game. Well, they have the most touchdowns for offenses in the NFL with 22. And I think a lot of that has to do with how well the Lions defense is playing, and the offense is starting with a short field. So the Lions aren't having to throw the ball a ton, because when you get the ball starting at your own 10-yard line, your own 20-yard line, it makes for really, really short fields and not having to push the ball down the field all day long. And they're playing from a lead, so they get to run the ball a lot more, which teams like the Cowboys, who have the most, they're the number 1 offense ranking because they're behind in almost every game, and they're having to throw the ball a ton just to get back in the game and try to keep it close. So some of these stats can be kind of misleading when it comes to overall offense, because when you get down into just the passing offense overall, okay, because what the first team offense does, it just adds up all of your yards between passing, rushing, and then how many touchdowns you have. So it's just going over overall yardage. That's how the Cowboys are number 1. They're number 1 in overall yardage between passing and rushing. So when you go down to the passing offense, you're going to see the Cowboys are number 3 with 272 yards in rushing. The number 1 team in passing offense is the 49ers, and they have 10 passing touchdowns. Number 2, you have the Rams at 289.6 yards per game with 11 touchdowns. And if you go all the way down to number 12, you have the Detroit Lions with 230.2 passing yards per game, which is pretty low. And then 13 passing touchdowns. That's the most. So the Detroit Lions, I think, are just starting most of their drives with a shorter field compared to a lot of the other teams. And our defense is getting takeaways, and we're getting free kicks because of a safety, because of our defense at the 10-yard line or the 20-yard line. So it's making a big difference in how much we have to pass the ball. And like I said, we get to run the ball a lot because, well, the Lions are ahead in a lot of games. So if you look at the rushing offense, the Commanders come in at number 1 with 156 yards on the ground per game with 7 touchdowns. The Bills are number 2 with 154 per game and 9 rushing touchdowns. The Jets are number 3 with 144 yards per game and 4 touchdowns. The Jets have not won a game yet this season. And then you have the Broncos, Jaguars, and Falcons all ahead of the Lions. And the Lions come in at 134.8 yards per game, but a whopping 8 touchdowns on the ground. And there's only a couple other teams that have more rushing touchdowns. That would be the Bills with 9 and the Colts with 11. The Colts are tearing it up on the ground this year, even though they're only putting up 128 rushing yards per game.
So it's interesting, you know, when I touched on that last week too, that, or maybe it was earlier this week, that when you look at the yardage and you look at how the Lions are winning football games right now, you would say, man, Lions used to be number 1 in everything, but being top 6 in total offense, I think is more of the number to pay attention to. When 22 TDs on the season, 365 yards per game, that those are both really great numbers. But the overall passing numbers that are a little bit low, like I said this last week, it is because of the fact that we're starting with shorter field. We don't have to go as far as, you know, other teams have had to. However, we have had 2, 90 plus yard drives too. So we can do it from wherever. And that's what gives me a lot more confidence about this team, is that we're able to score. We're able to push the ball all the way down the field. These numbers are going to come up. They will come up. And, we are number 1 in scoring offense. And
that's the number that makes the biggest difference right there.
Yeah.
The Lions are scoring 34.8 points per game. We have 22 total touchdowns. That is 4 more than the next closest team. So that's a touchdown per game better than any other team in the NFL right now.
You talk about an overall scoring?
Yeah, in total touchdowns.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about points.
Yeah, because in points scored, we're only 2 points ahead of the Colts.
Yeah, how about those Colts, man? Last year, I said, watch out for them Colts. They're coming, and they did not take off last year. The plane just stayed in the hangar, and their defense was alive. Obviously, they had some quarterback issues, and man, they've really taken off this season. They're gonna be a tough team. That's the other guy that I don't know why people gave up on him, but there was 2 quarterbacks that I said are gonna come back, and one was Sam Darnold, the other one was Daniel Jones. Stupid move by the Vikings. Thank you for getting rid of Daniel Jones. Had you had him running your offense right now, I don't think that they would go back to J.J. McCarthy. Honestly,
no.
Daniel Jones is lighting it up, and Anthony Richardson, he's done.
Yeah.
He's going to be a career backup at best, probably, and quite honestly, he probably should have switched to a different position, but he gets hurt too much. For as big as he is, he gets hurt way too much.
Yeah, he'd make a great running back.
But he gets hurt. That's every time he gets touched, he goes down and he doesn't get back up. Taking a look at the defensive side of the football, so the Lions right now are ranked 8th overall. Total defense, allowing 298.8 yards, 14 TDs allowed. They're kind of lower third as far as points allowed right now. Passing defense, Lions surprisingly are 12. 206.6 yards per game, 10 touchdowns on the season. That is the upper echelon of touchdowns scored. They're like in 3rd place. Ravens have 13, Cowboys have 12, Bengals have 12. Bucks have 10. Bears have 10. Jets have 11. Lions have 10. So looking at the rushing defense, Lions allowing only 92.2 yards. They rank 7th in the league right now. They've only allowed 4 rushing TDs all season, Eric.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
4 rushing TDs all season. And then the number that I love, the number that always makes the most sense to me, is that scoring defense. And, this last weekend, I was like, damn it, you let them have 1 touchdown too much. Because we are hovering at like 22 points per game. We just needed one more good game to drive that number down below 20 points, and we went up 0.4 points. So Lions right now are, what are they? 17th. So right in the middle of the pack at 22.4 points per game. They've allowed a total of 14 touchdowns on the season. They will be much better. But like Eric's concerns in the beginning of the season, we were up there pretty far, right? We were starting out, I think, 26, 27. We started at 27. We were averaging around 26 points per game. It's just a mathematical problem. We need some more games, and we need some lower scoring games on the other side. The Lions are going to be fine. We're doing the opposite of last year. We're trending this way in a good way. The points are coming down. They're not going up. Last year, they went up. The more injuries that we had, the more points they were scoring on us. Huge difference. I know I've said this before, but last year we were averaging about just under 17 points per game through 12 weeks. The last 5 weeks of the season, we were averaging right around 26 points per game. So thankfully, we have not gotten to that point yet. Overall, though, for, the Lions' schedule, over the last 2 weeks, the Lions have allowed 17 points per game. Over the last 3 weeks, the Lions have allowed 21.3 points per game. So I'm good with that, especially when you look at the last 2 weeks. Obviously, the Browns weren't going to do anything. The Bengals shouldn't have scored 24 points. I think we're good.
Yeah. And those were garbage touchdowns. I mean, it was garbage time. It was them trying to mount some kind of a comeback. Did you, as a Lions fan, honestly, did you ever feel at any point in that game like the Lions might let this one get out of control and we might lose the game?
No.
Not for 1 second did I feel that the Lions were in jeopardy of losing this game at all.
So I guess if you put everything into, if you boil it all down, look, Lions are good. We have some injuries right now, some key injuries. Last year, it was the front 2/3 of the defense. This year, it's the back third of the defense, which is a much more significant part, I think, of the defense. Because last year, we were able to slide some guys in. We were still able to perform. The problem with not having good lockdown corners in a man defense, which is what it's what we do. Having to switch to more zone or something like that it's going to be tough because it's not your identity, number one. But number two, I don't care. I mean, I don't care what people say when they say that, okay, you need another edge on the other side of Aiden because we need to get to the quarterback more often and coverage sacks are not sacks. Well, they are, right? And that's how great defenses operate. All 3 levels of your defense have to work together. You have to be able to trust in the linebackers to clean everything up when the defensive front's going, right? And then you have to depend on the corners to clean everything up when the linebackers are getting after it. So missing two key corners in this game, it's concerning. It's concerning for the next few weeks. The Lions are just going to have to figure out a different way to win, right? And that's what Dan Campbell loves, finding a different way to win. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions play more of that relaxed defense where they're not going to get after quarterbacks as much, simply because they don't have the coverage. And if you drop more guys into coverage, but you cover all of the zones, you can't throw the ball, and you're right there to clean up the run. So that's what I'm expecting going forward until the Lions figure out what they're going to do on the outside, and until we see it. You know, we have to be able to see it work. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes, but I got to say that the cornerbacks are so important to your edge and your front four. That's what makes it all tick. Most important stat of the day, Eric, for me, honestly, when you're looking at how a defense is operating, man, do we have some knuckleheads in this fan base. Never thought that the Lions would be where they are today, right?
Yep.
Where are we at in sacks again?
We're second.
Second in sacks. Huh. Where are we at in interceptions? Fourth.
I'm not sure. Fourth? Okay.
Fourth. Where are we at in forced fumbles? Fifth. Fumbles recovered. 10th. I don't think we have any fumble TDs yet. Hurries. Where are we at in hurries? 15th. Passes defense. This is key, man. 29. And people want to say that Terrion Arnold is trash. I don't get it. I really don't. Last thing I want to look at is Terrion Arnold, because I have not taken a look at how many passes defensed. Let's go player grades, premium stats, by position, and here we go, corners. All right, PBUs on the season. Where would you think that Terrion Arnold ranked? Just take a guess.
9th.
Where do you guys think that Terrion Arnold would rank?
Yeah. I like what Maureen says. Tyleek has 3 passes defended.
Dude, Tyleek is a monster, man.
He's a monster for getting his hands up.
He's going to be so good.
Yeah.
He's just barely scratching the surface.
So Orner U of M Dad says 3rd.
Yeah, I wish.
Todd Beaudry says top 10.
You guys are cheating. You're looking it up, aren't you?
I don't know.
So technically, Terrion Arnold is second or third.
Really?
Excuse me. Technically, he's third because he has 3. The leader has 5, and the second place has 4. So you have 3 guys tied at the top: Andrew Phillips, Keeson Nixon, Will Johnson, tied at 5. Cooper DeJean, Taheeb Still, DJ Turner, Cordell Flott, Tyreek Stevenson, Trent McDuffie, all tied at 4 apiece. And Terrion Arnold and Sauce Gardner, Blue Kelly, Derek Stingley, Riley Moss, Darian Kendrick, Eric Stokes, Adepo Paulson, Charvarius Ward, Rasul Douglas, Jordan Lewis, Marshawn Lattimore, and Jalen Ramsey all tied with 3 in PBU stats. And the Lions overall rank 3rd with 29 as a team. So a few things are working well. We're knocking balls out of the air. We're playing really good sticky coverage. We're getting interceptions left and right, to the tune of 4th in the league with 6. Should have had more. We've dropped probably 6 interceptions so far, which is nuts. Sacks, the Lions are in second place with 16. They're 5 behind the Denver Broncos. But again, remember this key stat. The Broncos were first last year. or this key metric. They run a 3-4 defense, so they have outside linebackers. There's not defensive ends. But did any of you ever think that for a moment that the Lions were going to be at number 2 in sacks? The number that I care about the most is not even on here. Let's see if I can find it real quick, and then we'll get out of here. Let's see if this gives it to me. Nope, that's not going to give it to me. Why is it not tracked anywhere? Let's try this one. Nope.
I like what Kevin Barr says there. Crickets from the Zadarius Smith crowd.
Oh, yeah, I expected that.
Yeah.
And crickets from the We Need an Edge crowd? Or no, do we still need an edge?
Yeah. My buddy still sends me texts just about every day that we goofed up by not bringing Smith back. He's just dead set convinced that he should have been on this team.
The Eagles played this weekend, right?
Yep.
How did Zadarius Smith play?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm wondering. I didn't look.
I don't know. No clue. Have to look him up on PFF.
Yeah, I just did.
Okay.
Week 5. 34 snaps.
He's getting some more snaps in now.
68 in coverage. He got a sack. He's got 2 sacks on the season. He's got 9 total pressures on the season. Doesn't Hutch get like 9 a game?
Yep.
He's got 6 tackles. He missed a tackle. So you got a 33.3% missed tackle rate. Yeah. I'd say we're good.
Yep.
I'd say we're good. Pun intended. All right, so I'm trying to find TFL stats. And I don't know why it is so hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
But, all right, so you got total defense. Passing defense, rushing defense. Huh. Well, I'm going to have to dig into that one. I don't know why it's just not right there. So if any of you know where to get like the TFL stats, because it is recorded, like, yeah, I know ESPN box scores will have TFLs, in each game. Right? And so, like, if I were to go to, I might just have to do it manually. But if I were to go to week 5, please. Thank you. If I were to go to week 5, go back and look at the game, go to the box score, TFLs, Lions had 5 in this game. Here, just write these down for me, will you, please, or add them up?
Okay.
All right, so Lions had 5 against the Bengals.
Okay.
Oh, why is it only letting me go back to week 5? Come on. Are we serious right now? Here, I'm gonna have to do it manually. Lions versus Browns, ESPN box score. All right, against the Browns, Lions had 4. Against the Ravens, we had 6. And against the Bears, We had 5. And against the Packers, probably didn't have many. I had 2. So what's our total?
22.
22. What is that? 4.5 per game? Just under?
Divided by 5 is 4.4.
So we're getting more TFLs than we are getting sacks. I'm good with that.
Yep.
Those numbers need to work together. And so when you look at 4.4 per game, and then you look at the defensive stats and how many sacks we have on the season, what was that number? 16?
Yeah.
And so that's, 3 point, what?
16 divided by 5 is 3.2.
So 3.2 plus 4.4. So 7.6. 7.6 tackles for loss if you combine. They shouldn't be combining TFLs with sacks. They should be separate.
Yeah.
Right? So that means you have, on average, almost 8 plays per game behind the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
That's good stuff. That's how you win football games. Right there. Got to keep them behind the line of scrimmage. Love it. All right, final 30 minutes. Get out of here.
All right. Well, I have to apologize to my Detroit Lions because before the season, I put down my predictions with all the scores for all the games. And looking back at the last 5 games, I added up all the scores that I thought were going to come true for our offense. And I had them at 29.8 points per game. And they are actually scoring 5 points a game better than I thought. So congratulations to the Detroit Lions offense. You guys are awesome. You rock this year. Keep it up. Let's stay number 1 for the whole season.
Interesting week ahead. Big time matchup. Wish I was going to the game. I might. Who knows? But I will say this. This is the matchup that is going to help define us where we are with our roster right now. And that bye week can't come fast enough. It really sucks having DJ Reed and Terry and Arnold out both. And to be very transparent, like when week 9 does get here and we do have the opportunity to probably get both of those guys back. I know we've heard end of October for Terry and Arnold, but it could be longer than that. DJ Reed was supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks. It could be longer than that. And we just can't expect these guys to jump back into the fold and get back to the way that they were playing right away. So this is a challenge, but at the same time, this is also a great opportunity to see what these guys are made of and to see if Amik Robertson can hold it down, which I believe he can. But really to see what Brad Holmes' magic formula is all about. Because this weekend, you're going to have players like Avonte Maddox and hopefully Rocky Sin getting a lot of snaps and getting some really good opportunity at playing on the outside, which it should be Rocky Sin. And this is where the magic of Brad Holmes' roster management works and how this team is separated from others. Because he's not out spending lavishly and he's more focused on depth, you're able to continue to win football games when other teams can't. Look around the league. And maybe this is a good exercise for tomorrow or Friday, Eric. Look around the league and tell me how many teams have only lost a couple of key players. Are they still able to win football games? The Lions have already lost a few key players. Taylor Decker was out, DJ Reed was out, Terry and Arnold was out at one point, and they're still able to win football games. That is what separates a good team from a great team. A solid team to a team that is so deep, you can lose multiple guys and not miss a beat. And so that's what I appreciate the most, I think, about Brad Holmes. If I were to say anything, it is his patience, his persistence, It's trusting his process and delivering upon, those promises each and every season to deliver us a good season, right? To give us something to be, happy about. Yeah, it may not finish the way that we wanted it to finish, but we're still here. We're still winning football games, and we got a little bit of a ways to go. So, on to week 6 tomorrow. We flip the page fully to the Chiefs. We'll see you guys. Take care. Go on, probably go Detroit Lions. Adios.
Pressured by Hutchinson.